over chapter 11, and then we'll get started with today's work. So, where is it? There it is. All right, chapter 11. We did about half of it together, right? So you didn't have too much for homework. Let's come up. We did the first fact or opinion together, right? Doc Murphy knows. That knows means it's a fact, right? What about Judd Travers don't take care of his dogs? What about that one? Lizzie?
It's an opinion.
That one is actually an opinion, right? Because we think he doesn't. What if he actually does, like, for some of the animals, right?
He does, like, in the book it said that, like, he feeds them.
He still
He just barely,
right.
He doesn't take care of Shiloh.
Right, he kind of treats Shiloh like the worst, but he gives the other one some pretty decent attention, right? So that one is an opinion. All right, the next one. David and I are in the same grade. What do you think, Christian? Yeah, they definitely are. That is a fact. It's something we know. All right, and this one. No cry ever sounded so happy as the one that came out of my throat. What do you think, Nathan?
Opinion.
That one is an opinion, right? Because has he ever heard all of the sounds in the world?
No.
Right, so he's thinking like, oh, happiest sound, right? That's an opinion. And then Shiloh's trying to lick everything in sight. How about that one? Rosie?
I think that's an opinion.
It's an opinion. That one's actually a fact. Well, just because it says it in the book, because all of these are from the book, right? He's trying to lick, right? He's licking every single thing, right? He's trying to lick everything that he can get to. So that one is a fact. All right, and then we have the stop and jot. What are some things the family does to show that they miss the dog too? Okay, so think back to chapter 11. What did Marty's family do? Zach? The family, what was it? Sorry.
They all yelled Shiloh.
Family yelled Shiloh. What else did they do when they were yelling Shiloh? What else? Ryan?
They were running to the car when Shiloh was there.
Ran to the car. Good. And I think there's one more big one. What else did they do? Lily?
Martin said it was like a welcome home party for your dog.
And it felt like a welcome home party. You might have said something too about like how mom was like rubbing him, right? They all wanted to pet Shiloh. You might have added something along those lines too. Alicia?
I said Marty got a box for him.
Marty went and got a box. Okay.
Yeah, showed him like a bag.
Brooke?
I'm not sure they actually said this in the book, but I think they were also trying to hug him, but really didn't because his leg was injured.
So then they were trying to touch him and like hold him almost. Okay. And Holly?
I have a question. How many did we have to have?
One. One's good. But if you have more, that's always right. Am I ever going to get mad at you for doing more work?
No.
It's like if you play more math, like on Prodigy. Am I going to get mad at you for doing more math homework?
No.
No. All right. So let's look at our vocab word for chapter 12. We only have one today, okay? Only one. It is limping. The L and the I are a little squished under there. Don't forget your 2 dots to separate your vocab word from your definition. Limping is when you are walking in a slow and awkward way because of an injury to a leg or foot. Who do you think is going to be limping in our story? Probably Shiloh, because remember he got his like thigh, like back leg area. It is a long definition. Luckily, they're all kind of short words, other than awkward, right? All right, so while we are reading, we're going to make some inferences, which we are pros at because of picture of the day, right? We're going to make some inferences. We're also going to compare. We're going to analyze Lou again. We're going to look at Mom again. And then we got to stop and jot. Okay? Does anyone need the definition still? I'll give you a little bit longer. The rest of us get our books and let's open to chapter 12. All right. So we last left and Marty was like, I can't give him up. I won't. We are on chapter 12. Mine is on page 105. Monica.
Do you have bookmarks?
I have them at home. Not here. I will try and work on it. Okay. All right. Chapter 12. Brooke.
How do you make the that Morty voice similar in the book?
Because that's just what I think in my head as you're reading. Each person has a different voice, right? So I just think that's what I think Marty would sound like, and I then try and say that with my head in my head. Sometimes it's easier to think the voices, right, than it is to say them. The way you get better at saying them is by practicing. Okay. All right. So chapter 12. So remember, Shiloh's living at the house now, right? Okay. So Shiloh's home. Okay. Sure seems strange having Shiloh in the house that night after trying so hard to keep it a secret. Strange, too, the way Ma takes to him. Seems like she can't hardly pass his box next to the stove without reaching down to pet him, making low sympathy noises in her throat, the way she does when Darlene or Becky or me get sick. Dad don't say much. He comes home to find Shiloh there. He just stands off to one side, listening to what Doc Murphy said about him. He don't get close enough for Shiloh to take a lick. But when supper's over, I go up to the bathroom to brush my teeth. I peek back through the doorway, and Dad's over by Shiloh's box, letting him lick his plate clean. Dad crouches there a minute or two, scratching all down Shiloh's back and up again. What I'm figuring, see, is by the time Shiloh's better, everybody will love him so much. They just can't let him go, even Dad. I'm hoping Dad will go over to see Judge Travers, make him an offer on Shiloh, and then he'll be ours. The trouble with this kind of thinking, though, is we don't have the money. I'll probably be through junior high school almost before I earn enough to pay Doc Murphy's bill. To buy Shiloh from Judd, even if Judd's willing to sell, I'd have to collect aluminum cans all through high school, too. Can't make very much with cans. I try to think about what other kind of work I can do that would pay me more. But except for delivering the county paper on Friday afternoons, nothing else comes to mind. And somebody's got that job already. It's sort of like Shiloh's there and he's not. In the next couple of days, everybody's petting him every chance they get. Becky feeds him the crusts off her toast, breaks off little bits, and shrieks every time she feels Shiloh's mouth slurp them out of her fingers. Ma's putting up beans in jars, and all the while she hums to Shiloh like he's a baby in a cradle, not a dog in a box. Darlene's got an old hairbrush, and she just can't seem to brush that dog enough. Even Dad sits down one evening and gets out every tick Shiloh's got on him. Takes a little dab of turpentine and rubs it on the tick's rear end, and the tick backs out of Shiloh's skin mighty quick. The thing that makes it seem like Shiloh's not there is that everybody except me and Darlene and Becky talk about him. Ma and Dad don't even once mention his name out loud, as though saying it makes him ours, which he ain't. As though if you don't talk about him, maybe he'll disappear as quietly as he come that day in the rain. What everybody's waiting for, I guess, is something to happen. Every day Shiloh's getting a little stronger. 2 days after Doc Murphy brought him here, Shiloh's up limping around on his bad leg. Ma put some papers beside his box for him to do his business on, but he won't. So for the first couple days, I pick him up, carry him out to the yard, and after he's done his business there, I bring him in again. But now he's pushing open the back screen himself, and going down into the yard. Then coming back and tapping on the screen with one paw, so we'll let him in. Somebody sometime is bound to see him. Becky sometime bound to say something. Even David Howard, when his ma came to pick him up the other day, opens his mouth right off and says something about Shiloh. Who's Shiloh? She asks, and David realizes he's let it slip. Old stray cat, he says. And now I've got David lying too. Worst part about having Shiloh here in the house, where I can play with him anytime, I like, is that it's hard to leave him when I go out collecting cans. But I've got to earn money now more than ever. So each day when Shiloh takes his long nap, I set out with my plastic garbage bag hanging out one jeans pocket. One day, I walk all the way to Friendly and ask at the grocery where the county papers dropped, if they'll put in my name as a carrier. Mr. Wallace says he'll turn my name in, but he's already got 6 names ahead of me, and one of them is a grown man with a car. Don't see how I can match that. I studied the bulletin board at the back of the store where people put up notices. Stand on one foot and then the other, reading the whole dang board, and seems like everybody got something to sell or want to be hired. Nobody wants to buy. Only 2 jobs listed. One for an appliance salesman and some woman who wants her house painted. Mr. Wallace sees me looking at the board, and he comes over and takes down the notice about a woman wanting her house painted. That's already taken, he tells me. That night, while we finish supper, Shiloh's going around the table, putting his nose in everyone's lap, looking mournful, waiting for somebody to slip him something to eat. I can tell Ma and Dad's trying their best not to laugh. Ma won't let us feed him at the table. What I'm dying to ask Dad is, did he tell Judge Travers about his dog being here? Dad don't mention it, so I don't ask. Maybe I don't want to know, I tell myself. And then, just as Ma's dishing up a peach cobbler that we're going to eat hot with milk, I hear a sound outside that makes my bones feel like icicles inside me. Shiloh hears it too, and I know right away it's what I think it is, because Shiloh sticks his tail between his legs, puts his belly low to the floor, and climbs back into his box. Ma and Dad look at Shiloh. They look at each other. Then there's the slam of a truck door outside, footsteps on the ground, footsteps on the porch, and a rap, rap, rap at the back door. Everybody stops eating, like we was all froze to death in our chairs. Dad gets up and turns on the porch light, and there he is, Judge Travers, looking as mean and nasty as I ever seen him look. He don't even ask, can he come in? Just opens the screen and steps inside. Ray Preston, he says. Somebody told me you got my dog. Dad's looking serious. He nods and points toward the box by the stove. Over there, Judd, but he's hurt, and we've been taking care of him for you. Judd stares at Shiloh and then at Dad. Well, I'll be danged, he says almost softly. Somebody knows my dog is missing, takes him in, and don't even have the decency to tell me? We were going to tell you, Dad says, and he's looking straight at Judd. Nobody wants to hear his dog's been hurt, though, and we wanted to make sure he was going to pull through. Then he turns to me. Marty, he says, you want to tell Mr. Travers how come his dog come to be here? He knows I don't. He knows I'd rather swim a river full of crocodiles than face Judge Travers. But it's my story to tell, not Dad's, and he always did make us face up to what we done. Your dog come over here twice because you've been mistreating it, I say, and my voice don't sound near as strong as Dad's. Sort of quavery. I clear my throat and go on. So second time it come over, I built it up a pen in the woods, and Dad didn't know it, and that German Shepherd of Baker's got in and fought Shiloh. Fought who? The Beagle. Shiloh. That's what I've been calling him. And Shiloh got hurt bad. It was my fault for not making the fence higher. We took him to Doc Murphy, and he patched him up. Judge Travers is still staring around the room like he never saw the likes of us before. Finally, he lets out his breath through his teeth and slowly shakes his head. And I gotta find out all this from Doc Murphy? I couldn't believe Doc would go tell him. Somebody goes to the doc the other day and sees a beagle lying on his back porch. Tells me about it later. Says he thinks maybe the dog's mine. So I ride over to Doc's in the evening, and he tells me it was you who brought him in. Judd walks across the kitchen, and at the thud of each footstep, Shiloh huddles down further and further in the box, like maybe he can make himself disappear. His whole body is shaking. Ma sees it, I know, because she watches for a minute, then turns her face away quick. Judd stares down at Shiloh, at his bandage and the shaved place where he's all stitched up, the rip on his ear. "Look what you done to my dog," he yells at me, my eyes big and angry. I swallow. Nothing I can say to that. Travers squats down by the box. He puts out his hand, and Shiloh leans away, like he's going to be hit. If that don't prove the way he treats them, I don't know what would. But Judd's saying, I never mistreated my dogs. This one was shy when I got him, that's all. I sure never caused him an injury like this one. Wouldn't it never have happened if you brought him back like I told you. I close my eyes. When I open them again, Judd's putting his hand on Shiloh's head, rough-like, sort of patting him, and you can tell he ain't got that much practice being kind. Still, hard to prove Shiloh wasn't mistreated before he got to Judd's. How do you go about proving something like that? It was Ron and Marty to pen up your dog, Judd, and we've already talked about that, Dad says. He's the one who's going to pay Doc Murphy for patching him up, and soon as the dog is strong, we'll drive him over to your place. Why don't you let us keep him until then, in case he needs more care? Judd stands up again and looks at me. I stare back, but I don't say nothing. And then Ma can't take it anymore. She says, Judd, Marty's got awful attached to that dog, and we'd like to know how much you want for it. Maybe we can scrape up the money to buy him. Judd looks at her like she's talking some kind of nonsense, like we're all getting crazier by the minute. That dog's not for sale, he says. Pay good money to get me a hunting dog, and he could be one of the best I've had. You want to keep him, feed him till he's better? Okay with me. It's you that got him all tore up, and you paying the bills. But I want him back by Sunday. Screen door slams again. Truck starts up, and then he's gone.
That was a serious chapter.
That was a pretty intense chapter, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Whoa.
So bad.
So, some of our characters... I'm looking for a mind at. I'm looking for a mind at. Some of our characters have kind of changed their opinions about Shiloh. Who's one that's changed their opinion about Shiloh? Who's one? Zane? Ray. Why has Ray changed his opinion?
Because at first he was just like, we gotta get him back to Judson. And then he's like, he's a sweet dog, just like Mom.
Yeah, and what is he doing that specifically shows? Because he never straight out really says, like, we want to keep him, right? Ma does, but Dad doesn't. What does Dad do that kind of shows us he wants to keep Shiloh? What did Dad do? Claire?
Like, he was watching you guys, like, looking in the and also, like, when Marty looked down from, like, when he was brushing his teeth, he saw, like, the dad, like, how to play and, like, how to
Yeah, Dad's, like, petting Shiloh, right? What else did Dad do for Shiloh? Think back. Remember what Dad did for Shiloh? Remember, Lizzie? This chapter.
Was it, like, when Judd came over, he was like, well, your dog's hurt, and can he like stay in our house until he's better?
He's trying to like get Judd to let him stay, yes, but before that, he did something before Judd even showed up. Adam?
He let him look his place.
That, and what else did he do that really takes care of a dog? They need this so that they can stay healthy. Brooke?
Yeah, he also petted it and dang it.
You forgot? Think you want to keep it healthy. Isaac? Well, that was last chapter. Yep, that was helpful, though. Think in this chapter. Ryan? He got all the ticks out, right? The animals can't have too many ticks on them, right? That's not good for them, for any kind of animal. Good. Why does David lie to his mom? Remember, he's like, oh, some stray cat. Why is he doing that to Mom? Why is he lying to Mom? Rosie?
Because he tells his mom and then he realizes it, and he like,
So why is he doing that, though? Yep, that's exactly what happened. He told Mom, he was like, oh, I can't say that. Why can't he say that, though? Camille?
Because Marty's gonna hit me wrong.
Right. And would it be good friendship to do that? No, right? He's like, I gotta be a good friend. How do you think Shiloh knew Judd was coming? Before it even happened, Marty kind of had an idea, and he looked over at Shiloh. How did he know? What do you think? What showed it? Maddie? You started to shake, right? What else did he do in his box? What did he do in his box, Alasia?
Got lower and lower.
He started to kind of crouch down lower and lower, right? He's kind of quivering in there. He's scared. What happened to his tail? Remember what happened? Micah, do you remember what happened? It went between his legs. Is that normal for a dog to do?
No.
Not unless they are scared. Yeah. Why was Judd so nice, though? When he got to Marty's house, he was acting nice. Why would he do that? Because we've already kind of decided he's not a nice person, right? Why is he acting nice? Christian?
because he wants to go to parents when he was nice owner of the dog. And then when he was home, he can't.
Right? He wants the parents to think, I didn't mistreat my dog, right? I got the dog and he was shy already, right? Not my fault. So that way maybe they'll give him back, right? Exactly. All right. Isaac?
When he tried to prove he was nice, he tried to like pet Shiloh, but then Shiloh kind of like moved away.
Yeah, remember when it said Judd reached out his hands and Shiloh went, like, I don't want you to pet me. My friends, make sure we're not playing with items. We've already had this chat today. Lily?
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know why dogs put their tails in
Usually tails are, because they don't talk, right? So their tails are kind of like their voices, right? It gives you kind of clues. It's almost like sign language, Lily. Their tails kind of tell you. So if it's wagging, they're usually happy. And if their tail goes down, you kind of know that they're scared or in danger, right? That's how they communicate with us. And if they're sad, it might go down a little bit too, yeah. Maddie?
Also, when Judd tried to pet Shiloh, he was trying to act kind, but
It was like so rough.
He was rough, right? Remember it said he pet his head, but he wasn't really like how would you pet a dog? Can you show me with your hands? Kind of like raising, right? And he's like, show me not tapping your desk, but what would Judd do? He was kind of, like grabbing at him almost, right? Like a little rough. Like, I don't really know what to do, right? Like, I think this is about how people pet dogs, just acting. Okay. All right. Let's look at our notebook page. All right. Sorry, notebook, packet, whatever. Let's go to the compare it. All right. Oop, oh, come on. Made it worse. There it goes. All right. So we kind of talked a little bit about Ray, about Dad's changes, right? How are we seeing a change in Marty's mom's opinion from the beginning of the story to the end of this chapter? Think back. What did Ma do? What did Lou do at the end of this chapter? How is Mom's? How are we seeing a change in her opinion? What do you think, Amelia?
in chapter 1, Lou didn't want anything to do with Shiloh, but now she feels bad for Shiloh.
That is a perfect fourth grade full sentence answer. I love the in chapter 1, because what is chapter 1 referring to? Like in the question, the beginning of the book, right? So in chapter 1, Lou didn't want anything to do with Shiloh. But in chapter 12, what did you say, Lou? Lou feels, thank you. bad for Shiloh and wants to keep him. Oh, look at that fourth grade answer. Nice job using evidence from the story, chapter 1 and chapter 12, and saying how she feels and what she's doing. That is fabulous. Fabulous. Are there any other examples that you can think of too that might show? Zane?
She used to be strict because she yelled at her. Now she is quiet because she stood up to Judd.
She stood up to Judd. Oh, more examples too. She was strict and now she's standing up to Judd. Holly.
Like, they like she said, if like you want to keep it on, you have to like make sure you can like take care of it, and then at the end, like she was.
Right at the beginning, Mom's like, it's your responsibility. And now she's like, how much would it be? Like, we're willing to pay, right? She definitely changed from that aspect, too. Zach?
Well, she might feel sorry that Shiloh got like an injury.
So she maybe feels bad now that Shiloh's injured. Maybe that's why she wants to keep him. Micah?
At the start of the story, she was kind of strict. But, now that Shiloh's like in their house, she kind of got like nicer.
Kind of like Zane's one, right? Very similar to Zane's answer. And last one, Maddie?
I just have a question.
Mm-hmm.
In chapter 1, did they even know about the dog?
In chapter 1 at the end, remember the dog comes up to the porch? And they're like, whose dog is that? And they're like, just leave him be, right? They're like, let him be, he'll go away. And Marty's like, no, he won't. All right, let's look at character analysis. We need those adjectives, and we are working on adjectives, so this is perfect for us. What would you say to describe Lou? What would you say to describe Lou? Peter? What was it? Sweet. She is sweet. What is she doing that shows she's sweet? Think there's two examples I can think of that goes beyond. What is she doing that shows she's sweet? Ryan?
Like, she's standing up to Judd to kind of like buy
Ooh.
Shiloh because I guess she thought that like because Judd was like patting him a little hard, so I think she like got a little confused because I bet she knows that Judd knows.
She stood up to Judd. Think back to with Shiloh. What is she doing to Shiloh during this chapter that shows she's sweet? Amelia?
She was like asking to buy him.
That's kind of what that stood up, yep. Before Judd even got there, what was she doing that showed she was so sweet? What was she doing, Brooke?
Before when she passed the oven, she just pets them with Shiloh.
She would pet Shiloh, and she would, remember, hum to him, right? Like he was like a baby in a cradle, remember Marty said? So she's treating the dog kind of like her own kid, right? Thomas, what else do you think about Lou?
I think she's careful.
She's careful. What do you mean by careful?
I think she didn't really, like, Joe, like, really tapped him, but then, like, we were, like, hunting and just, like, pat him slightly and gently.
Gently, so she's careful and gentle, right? I like that. What else do we know about Lou? Holly, yes. What else? Zach, you got another one? She laughs. She's kind of lighthearted, right? You know what that means?
Yeah.
She likes to have fun and kind of laugh and giggle. She's not as serious as we thought she was, right? She's a little goofy sometimes, a little calmer. Claire?
Kind of, like, switched personality.
She switched, so she is maybe growing, right? Is she growing as a person? Yeah, she's growing and changing. What else? Adam?
She's looking out for Marty because she asked if they could buy Shiloh.
Yeah, so what word would kind of mean she's looking out for her kids? She's very...
Protective?
Protective, that's what I was thinking. Kind of putting all that idea into one word. Keep thinking. Think if we can come up with 2 more words we need. Yes. All right. Anyone else got another word for Lou? Another adjective? What are you thinking, Nathan? Thoughtful. Yeah, like we talked about, she's kind of looking out for Shiloh and Marty too. She's thoughtful. What do you think? Can we get? We got room for one more down there, I think. One more. Kateri?
He's tough.
She's tough. I like that one. Right? Is she gonna give up without a fight? Nah, she is tough. Awesome. All right. So, because you guys are so good at inferences, I'm going to have that be your homework. But let's look over that part. Okay? So what it says is look at the different situations and see what you can infer. What is that first word up there, do you think? Dad. So if you want to write it. Dad pets the dog and gives him food off his plate. So think through, not answering quite yet. What would you infer about Dad based off of that sentence? Okay. And then down here, that first word is Shiloh. Puts his belly on the floor and climbs back into his box. So what can you infer about Shiloh from that sentence? And then the last one starts with Judd is being nice to the dog and talking about how he treats him right. Okay? So your job is to imagine like these scenes as picture of the day. What would you infer if you saw this happening? Okay? And then you got to stop and jot question about Judd's behavior. Does it shock you? Yes or no? And it doesn't say, but do you need a reason? Okay. I'll give you some work time on that. Well, I'll see you later.